Hey, welcome back. This is Shrimp of the House Recall Part 6, and we are on, let's see, page 20. I'm finding myself recording to kind of force myself to keep going. It's just been a weird week for, I don't know if distractions are the right word, but lack of productivity. And it's now that I'm entering the last pages on this part. My mouse cord seems to get getting tangled here. Trying to figure out what's. And it's sort of like as I'm getting to the end, my mind is sort of resistant to go on because I kind of get in that familiar feeling that I'm going to end up sort of off, whether I like end up having to fill in a page or having to cram to cut it down a page. Just standard procrastination. So, including this one, there's 5 pages left. And I think that's what my mind is struggling with. What do I want to do in this part? Or with the rest of this part, I should say. And where, and what can I get in? What am I going to have to push off or cut or whatever? I've already done a lot of the setup work here. And here I am coming in and still adjusting David. So I think we can change the number. The idea is that this is sort of, you probably have read this first, I'm guessing. So you can probably figure out that this is the next day from when he was recording his video messages. An hour. So I was originally going to have this be an Aiden misadventure. And I still can. Because the idea is at this point in time, this is not, I cannot get this to line up. At this point in time, it's at some point midday, so Aiden's still at school. The way I'm sort of the way I'm playing out Liz's absence. There's still the opportunity to have Aiden come in after school. But I sort of had this idea for a quick scene to just have fun at his expense. I think with the previous page where I'm going to split this manually because it's looking a little too funny to me. Okay, that's a little better. So with the previous page, I think one of the possibilities for laying out what I wanted to do in this moment, I think I was expecting Alex and his girlfriend to have a longer conversation. But it was one of those things where I realized I could have gotten the gist of the information I wanted to put out there down a lot more succinctly than a page. So I just gave her one mini speech and moved on. I think I was originally envisioning it as that conversation moving into page 20 and then this scene here being page 21. I almost feel like the conversation Jackson and Alex were having up to her arrival was probably a little superfluous. Uh, so what I've got here, with 5 pages to go in this part, it's hard to say because I'd still like to have Aiden grab David. Let me see something. Okay. For some reason, it didn't look lined up right, so, but it is. Save. Looks like I'm gonna have to take parts of the computer out of the scene. Let's see. So I think so. What I'm going to do is have this little sort of gag scene with the food. I do want to have probably a page where he's kind of mad at Liz for not coming home like she said she would. And she's going to have an excuse about traffic and congestion or something like that. It's going to be like, what am I? Oh, that's right. This thing. I think it's you. Yep. There we go. And then I have to remember to put it back. I think the last video I did in this sequence, I was doing this, and then like after I stopped recording and looked at the page, or not looked at the page, but I came back to work to continue working on this off recording. And when I set up the scene, I noticed the speaker was missing, so I had to go back and sort of re-render the picture after the video was done recording. Whoops. And I've been doing a lot of that in this story. And it's luckily every time I manage to catch it before moving the camera or, changing, getting the scene changed. So I'm able to just kind of fix the mistake and re-render it. Let's see. Okay, let's go currently used and see what we've got. Let's undo that one. I'm not entirely sure about this idea with Aiden coming in and grabbing him and going to play. Let's see. Currently used. Because I've been kind of doing it this whole piece. Just messing up the change in size. The expectations, blah, blah, blah. It's not that any of it translates that well. Not that the mistakes are noticeable on the page. Um, when the door is closed. This might be a little too much information. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just going to cut this off. Leave it at that. Now that I've got it like this, I'm going to go take this one instead. But, kind of going back to that thought that I was just on and drifted off from. It's one of those things where I sort of had an idea of what I wanted to do, and then once I started doing the math, it's not quite working out as I wanted. So I think way back when I first decided on this one, I think it was going to be another one of those where eventually he ends up at 6 inches, or maybe goes down to 4, something like that. But it's sort of, I want him to be normal again when Allison is getting ready to go to the dance. And I want to have that moment with her when he's normal and not when he's sort of small, and it's possible he's only kind of being nice and saying nice things to her because he thinks he's dying, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. I sort of want, like, his moment with Allison over the dance and over Logan to be completely sincere and not to have any, not to be tainted by any outside feelings or whatever. So I might, it's as I'm thinking of this, like, I can't remember off the top of my head when I keep saying this dance is going to be, but it's. I have a feeling I've been saying. Whoops. I have a feeling I've been saying that the dance would be Friday, so I'm gonna have to go back and change it to Saturday if it was. I've already pushed it off a week. I think early in this story, I was talking how the dance was supposed to be on the Friday or the Saturday we just came out of here, and I ended up pushing it off to the one that's coming up. So now I'm gonna go back and let's see, paste as. If I've said it's going to be Friday, I'm gonna shift it to Saturday night. Because they're not going to use the size changer to change him back. So he's got to wait the standard 2 days, which means if he's going to wake up Saturday morning, then 2 days from that will be Friday. Thursday morning will be the last time he wakes up smaller. And right here on midday Tuesday, question, can you see the food on the plate? I'm curious. Okay, so this works out. I'm sitting here thinking I wanted to hide what was on the plate until David actually sees it. I think that, is part of the joke. So I'm not really limited by that. It's just because he stops shrinking when he wakes up Thursday morning. We'll still have Thursday and Friday to deal with. But it just means that it's going to be his smallest. And as I get thinking of it, it's going to work out to where I think he's going to end up at 8 inches instead of 6. I think here I can use this one. The action figure, his action figures are set up to be 6 inches. And I think all the quote unquote toys are scaled down to fit 6 inches in the universe. So at 8, if he's only 8 inches, he's still going to be a little big to be playing with that stuff. And two, if it's 2 more days, hmm, okay, that's good. It's squared. So he should be, if I haven't screwed it up, he should be somewhere around a foot tall by now. Well, it's going to be an odd number, so it's probably like 13 inches. Well, I can just cut this all away instead of piecemealing it. And I mean, overall, if he only gets down to 8 inches, it's not going to hurt the story. There's nothing. there's nothing I'm looking to do that I really needed him to be like 2 more inches smaller. And I have to say, I've probably hit upon it in an earlier video, but I'm not really excited about doing a scene with Aiden and his toys. I think I've said before that it just feels like it gets rehashed at this point. It's just a rehash of something that's been done over and over. And it's the thing is like I think if there was conversation to go with it, like like I think if they it had a talk going on, that would have made it different. But with the age of with Aiden's age, there's not really there's never really any kind of a complex story to go with him. He's just a kid, so realistically, what's the worst? What's the worst that he's got to go through? He's a fight with Jackson. Maybe one of the kids pushed him down the slide at recess. I don't know. You know, it's okay. So I don't want that one. This one. There we go. The one thing I've got to pay attention to long term with Aiden. It's not going to be a concern anytime soon. But if I get to So if I do end up getting through to 3 more years in story, I think in theory he should be in third grade now, which means in the upcoming stories he'll be in fourth grade. Let's see. And then when he, with the other story, when after Alex is married and he's the year he's dealing with, not dealing with, but I'll use dealing with just because it's I don't want it to sound like it's a bad it's but in the year he's dealing with his wife's pregnancy, that'll put Aiden in fifth grade. And then when he's actually got the baby, that should be in year six, which will put Aiden in sixth grade in middle school. So, like, the thing I've got to be careful and got to be mindful of is sort of at that point of not treating him like he's 6 years old, not writing him like he's still in first grade. I am on this side of the page, right? Yep, okay. So, like, yeah, you watching this can see what's on the plate, but I'm hoping to cut the sandwich off when it goes on here. But yeah, so much. What did you bring me? Noise. That's noise of you. Oh my god. Let's see. It's like if any of you have seen like the old Lassie series, they were notorious for doing that with Timmy. Like the Timmy years of that series ran for so long that like by the time the kid left the show, he was a teenager, and they're still writing him like he's 6 years old. They never actually aged Timmy. They never wrote Timmy older. That's kind of what I'm afraid of doing with Aiden. Which is like one thing I've done with probably with the other three is it's I guess it's been easier with them with like Jackson and Allie, because Jackson transitioned into high school, so it sort of forced, so it was like that got me thinking of Jackson in a different way, and putting Allie in middle school in year two got me thinking of her in a different way. So it'll probably be the same with Aiden, but I was almost hoping that, it's like when I'm envisioning, when I'm envisioning a future with Alex getting married and having his own kid. I did sort of, I have been envisioning sort of Aiden and the baby at Aiden's current age, being a little kid getting excited about the baby. Oh, I want to see the baby. Can I see the baby? Can I hold the baby? Oh, cute baby. I sort of envision him in that way. But he's going to be a little older than that, right? And that is a long ways off, I have to say. Okay, okay, this works. I was, I was kind of afraid there was too much space between him and the plate. Okay, and I missed this, so I'm just gonna put this here. This is messing with my eyes because if it goes up, it looks like it's too far up. If it goes down, it looks like it's too far down. But I think that is centered top to bottom. Yeah, because it seems like, but I don't think it is at this point. But it seems like select invert. It seems I get about 1 year in story done in a year in real life, which I don't think that's right anymore because this is what this story represents the end of year 3, and I've been doing this for 3.5 years now. So in theory, I should be halfway through year 4 if that were right. So to get to the point where I'm actually putting out a story with Alex having a kid, it's going to be like 3, 4 years away. Actually, let's just and I go to zoom in, and it's zoomed out even further. I think I'm going to move him closer to the sandwich. Let's see. I guess as far as and it's too. I don't want to. Well, it's I do have sort of a long-term strategy for this series now. I don't exactly want to sit and work exclusively on it for the next 3-4 years. So I've got so it's after I finish this one, I'm going to go back and finish Sister-in-Law. I have to say, like it doesn't feel this way when I sit and read it as a whole, but when I'm working on it, it feels like there's nothing to it. It was never intended to be a big complex story. It was just supposed to be a simple thing. There was not really supposed to be any complex, like I said, any complex story. It's pretty much just what it's supposed to be. Um, this the sister kind of prods him into the into sort of flirting with him, hitting on him. He rejects her, so the idea is she keeps shrinking him to try and convince him, and like each step is just supposed to be kind of him dealing with the world in his house at the new smaller size, coupled with the fact that it does become more enjoyable in bed with his wife. I think the hint that maybe by the end you're wondering if he isn't kind of if he isn't playing the sister-in-law to keep doing what she's doing. But I do have to admit when there's like when like all the energy is just put into the series of pictures and there's nothing going on story wise, so to speak. Something about it feels empty, even though even when you just sort of put those sort of pages of size comparison or playtime or whatever in. So it's almost like I'm almost getting into, where it's like with this one, I'm trying not to sort of rush it to an early conclusion. I think I did the same thing with Burn Pit, where I told myself like no matter how tiring this gets to work with, I wasn't going to cut it short for the sake of getting the project done. Although, like in some ways, I feel like it could have kept going on. I didn't want, I did end up having to kind of bring it to a conclusion, that one to a conclusion, to kind of keep it just from going off the rails. But, otherwise with Burn Pit, um, I didn't rush to tie that one up, which I've done with some stories. And, when I do, it kind of does seem, it is almost noticeable. Well, what am I doing? Okay. Um, I know David's Nightmare was probably a shorter piece than it should have been. But I think really, Jeremy's journal, which I did at the same time, symbolized what I'm talking about a lot more. That I probably should have spent more time letting the two characters explore that particular size dynamic at the very end. And I probably could have gotten that one to a 75-page piece as well. But, it was like at the time I was working on those two, I was going through something, that I still like to this day can't really talk about. Um, Probably because it's probably more on the personal side than anything else. But I was kind of going through something at that time, or I had something going on at that time that I think sort of killed. Oh, I didn't want to delete. I think it just sort of killed those two projects for me. It was, I think with probably Jeremy's journal more than anything, more than David's Nightmare. It's like I just had to kind of bring that one. It just had to like end that one. Whereas I think with David's Nightmare, like I said, the reason I don't really see David's Nightmare in the same light is because I think with that one, I did everything I wanted to with the story a lot sooner than I thought I would. So, I mean, that one was pretty much done anyway, even if it didn't, even if it felt rushed, even if it didn't feel like it. No, I don't want to do the form too. And I mean, it's like not even just that, but there, and I can't off the top of my head really recall specifics, but I know there's been a few more where like you sort of hit that wall and you're just looking to just like get done. I think what I'm gonna do is so Jackson's hand doesn't need to be around the can. You know, I just want it to look like he's already set it down. He's pulling his hand away. Although, so I mean, I guess one is my, I guess my twin no more is one. It's kind of one such story. I think the ending scene at home, and like I knew I was gonna forget this, and I was just looking earlier. I think I can get away with it, but I did forget to put that stupid speaker back. Oh, and it wouldn't have even been noticeable here. And actually, it's gonna get cut off anyway. So, okay. So now after all that, did I change the 18? No, I did. That was one like I didn't expect sort of the conclusion at home to take so much space. It's just as soon as you wash it down. Um, okay, yeah, this will work. I know I've probably talked about this ad nauseum over time, but like my twin no more is one where I was hoping for just a few more pages to wrap up the college stuff better. But the stuff at home took so much of that last part that, that was one where I made the decision to kind of just rush the college stuff to an end. And, I was thinking at the time that I probably could have taken that story to a seventh part. Um, but I didn't really have enough in mind to warrant 24 more pages of college, in the college location. So it's sort of, instead of bloating that story, that was one where I kind of rushed it at that point in the story. And I kind of in some ways, I wished I hadn't, but I did. So I think this one I was just going to let go. But I have a feeling I'm really seriously considering rushing Sister-in-Law to a conclusion. And I'm not sure. I mean, I can do it in a way where you probably won't notice it story wise. Ah, shoot, his eyes. Snap the head. There we go. You know what? I should check on this. So, okay, that's good. Except, looking at the soda. Is that noticeable? Yeah, that is. His knee is going through the desk, so. I don't think that's bad. So, yeah, I'm thinking, like right now, and it's still a little bit a ways before I get back to it, but close that. Actually, his hand is going through the desk, but that's going to get cut off too, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I was thinking Sister-in-Law would be 4 parts, and he'd get down to 6 inches before it's over. But now I'm kind of thinking of cutting it off, of tying it up in 3 parts. And I don't know. I'll have to see when I actually get back to it. But like I said, I'm thinking of tying it up in 3 parts. I'm not going to rush or accelerate the shrinking, so it'll be more like the whole thing gets wrapped up with him at maybe somewhere around 18 to 24 inches, whatever it ends up, however it works out. But anyway, like if you're looking at the future, um, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna spoil what I think is the next project afterwards. I'm planning something interesting, something different, so to speak. Yeah, something different. Um, I am going to leave it as a surprise. Um, but so far, I am expecting this mystery piece to be the next story, although it might not. It could end up falling through and not be. I could end up having to do something else instead, or before. But I do have a bit of a surprise, or at least something I'm not really willing to. I'm keeping mum on at this point, and I think that might put me into the summer. And, in which case, I don't know if I'm going to do the Shrimp of the House summer storyline that I'd like to do, or this sort of burgeoning idea that I've had that I was talking about in the previous video, and hopefully that video gets put up and I don't delete it, don't change my mind. But like in my head, I am working on. I am sort of brainstorming. It's sort of another muscle growth tale that's going. I think even that one is going to be somewhat different. This picture is out a lot wider than I thought it would be, but it works. Um, just for lack of just for something to refer it as, why don't we call it wrestling camp? I know that name isn't appropriate to what I'm doing. I think it doesn't really describe the story. I think isn't, but for now we'll call it that, just for something to refer to it as. Okay, that's good. File. Let's see. Save image. Flatten. Now, let's see what this page looks like. Liz, is that you? What took so long? You said you would only be gone an hour. Jackson, you're not supposed to be in here when I'm working. I thought you might be hungry, so I made lunch. So I made you lunch. I suppose that's nice of you. What did you bring me? That is a big sandwich. Don't worry, I got you a soda to wash it down. It's page 20. 4 more to go. I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed that. Uh, and I hope to hope to keep delivering quality content like this.